Hey, everybody, welcome. I am joined today with Mike Braun of Elite Claim Solutions to talk about the hottest topic right now in the world of roofing: material shortages, price increases, profits getting eaten, commissions getting destroyed, and what you can do about it. So, Mike, thanks for joining me again.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. For anyone that doesn't know Mike yet, Mike is a former client and friend of mine who owned a really successful roofing company. And since exited, started Elite Claim Solutions. He's growing so fast that within just a few months is on to Office Space number 2.
Yeah.
And they are doing just an amazing job. Anyone that reaches out to me for supplement help, I refer to Mike. No, I do not get paid. I do not get kickbacks. I share this because Mike and his team do awesome work and they think like contractors. So I reached out to Mike because I got on the phone with a few contractors in this last week. Everyone's saying, I'm driving all over for material. Prices are through the roof. Redeck, I can't even get lumber for redecks. So Mike is here to share with us some gems on what you can do, how to supplement, and how to navigate this. And he just hopped off the phone. We had to pause the recording because he got on the phone with a major supplier to get some inside details to share with us today. So Mike, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to hand this over to you. You run this thing, and I'll ask some questions as they come up.
You got it. Well, first, thanks, Adam. Greatly appreciate it. Always love being on your channel and chatting with you. Whether recorded or not, always get some good insight out of this stuff. So thanks so much. Just got off the phone, as Adam mentioned, with one of the major suppliers in the country that I know, just trying to get some details on kind of what's going on out there. So I thought I'd share a few things with you on kind of the state of materials in the industry. So let's give a little context. Shingles are one thing. I think kind of where things stand from what I've just learned is that if you're in a market where kind of things are going as they were last year from a volume standpoint, you didn't have a big storm this year that you didn't have last year. You're not in a 3-hurricane market or whatever. That materials should be relatively stable, longer lead times, but you can get material in those markets so long as they're not off color items. If you need green or something off color, that's going to take a lot longer. 17 weeks in some cases was just discussed. So yeah, some of those things can take a long time. So that's that's kind of the shingle world right now. If you're in an area with major event, whether it be hurricane, hailstorm, windstorm, whatever, the shortages are real. Obviously, you guys are facing that on the ground. That's not kind of made up stuff. It's real. And here's some of the reasons why. So he explained, for example, in a plant where you used to have 10 people on an assembly line, and they're each doing their own kind of job, whatever it be, specifically for anything that's injection molded. So any accessories, ridge vent, for example, is an injection molded product. That used to be, 10 people on a line next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, doing different pieces of the puzzle. But now you have 3 people on that line, spaced out, 6 to 12 feet apart all over. And that just means you can't produce as much of it. And that's kind of the nature of the beast. So one way to think about how do I get around these things as a contractor, one is make sure that you're talking to whoever your distributors are about what color availability they have. And then direct your clients to that. Be honest and forthright with your clients. Listen, hey, if you're not in a hurry to get done, if you're not in Lake Charles where half your roof's blown off or your entire roof is blown off and you have some leeway in time, then okay, choose whatever color you want. It's going to be 4 months before the material gets in. But if you're in a market where, hey, I need to get this done quickly, or if you're a contractor and just for your own sales and commissions and cash flow perspective, you need to get it done quickly, you need to be communicating with your local vendors to find out what material is available, what colors are available on a regular basis. And those are the ones that were mentioned are the standards. Your weatherwoods, your charcoal or blacks, and then some brown of some kind. Those are kind of your 3 choices. Those products are pretty available. Again, maybe a little bit longer lead time, but not 17 weeks. Maybe a few weeks extra. Sorry, I'm looking down because I wrote some notes down since this was all kind of on the fly here, real quick.
Sure.
As far as pricing increases go, and hey, what's going to happen with pricing increases? Adam, and listeners of Adam's channel and podcast, God bless capitalism, right? And supply and demand, because that's where we are right now. This is a supply and demand problem. And unfortunately, there's way more demand than there is supply, which means prices are going to go up. And they're going to continue to go up. That's not something that I think anybody foresees kind of slowing down in the near term, at least. So, you can expect your typical January increase, but it might be bigger than last year's January increase. That's not going to go away. Let's see. I'm going to check and see if I have anything else major here. They do think that things are going to kind of level off from a distribution standpoint and kind of getting materials sometime in Q1 of next year. So, the backlogs of ordering should kind of start to level off around then. But that's kind of dependent on no more major events. And we've all been around when there's that November, storm that comes through and things change. So if there's another huge event then, or multiple events around the country in the storm belt, I think that all goes out the window. The last thing is not roofing related, but siding related. And I know a lot of roofers kind of end up doing siding just because of the nature of how it goes. Siding is way worse than shingles, way worse. Mainly because of all the accessories that go into siding. So getting the siding panels, not a huge problem. Siding accessories, light blocks, split blocks, pick up, all of that stuff. Way more lead time than normal right now. So you might get yourself in situations, and contractors, be really careful when you order a job. It's not just, do you have the 25 squares of, Dutch lap white that I need? It's, do you also have the 10 split blocks that I need, and so on and so forth, because you might get yourself in a spot where you can put all the siding on, but you can't finish the job and get paid because you don't have the accessories for another 12 weeks, right? So be really careful about that scenario.
Mike, is that only affecting vinyl siding? Or is that
Yes.
okay.
Yep, mainly vinyl. Yep. Did not hear anything about about fiber or anything like that.
Gotcha. So this may be doom and gloom to some, but there's some hope. And if you're watching this or listening to this, that's what we're going to start talking about now. So I like what Henry Ford did with the Model T. You can have any color as long as it's black. And there's something to be said about limiting choices. And there are companies out there that have scaled to pretty large industry leading sizes that have limited their options for their customers for buying power, logistics, and all that stuff. Mike, do you think that now is a good time for companies to navigate to be agile? Because if you're 17 weeks out, there are companies that are starving. Colorado, for example, where I live, slow storm year. I haven't talked to one company that said, this has been a fantastic year. They've either done the same or they've had some dips. They're going to be okay. It was still a good year, but no one had this massive push. Obviously, every market's different. Texas is very different. Florida, Louisiana, Lake Charles. But right now, if you were still in the game, what would you be doing as a company owner in terms of aligning yourself with manufacturers and in terms of color selection, so customers get made whole, your salespeople earn their commission? Because otherwise the starving trickle just continues. And it goes down to everybody gets impacted in a bad way. What would you be doing if you were in the business right now to navigate this?
So it's still weird to say if you were still in the business for me. Still weird for me to say that. I still feel like I'm there, right? I still think about it all the time. Anyway, so I went through this. So 2008, 2008? Yeah, 2008 in Omaha, Nebraska, huge storm, shingles on allocation everywhere. Huge economic problems in the country, so on and so forth. Plants were, way delayed. And we did exactly what you're talking about. And not only did we survive, we kind of thrived because we figured it out. And that put us in a better position than some competitors who didn't figure it out. So one of the things that we did, and not everybody can do this, but we rented some open ground with a fence around it and found out in a about 500-mile radius around that area, all the suppliers, and started calling saying, what do you have on the most you have on the ground right now? What is it? Is it TAMCO? Is it OC? Is it GAF? Is it what do you have? And what color are you willing to get rid of right now? And they would say, we have X. And so I started bringing in truckloads of this stuff and getting on a forklift at 5 a.m. and loading my own jobs and everything else which is at the time wasn't a fond now is a very fond memory actually doing that. I still wish I could jump on the forklift once in a while and load a job, but in any case, the point there is, if you don't have ground you can rent and everything else and truckload material in, the principle remains the same. Find out what your local distributors have, and then bring that to your clients. Hey, here's what I can get you. I can get you weathered wood. I normally sell OC, but right now I can get you GAF. I normally sell GAF. Right now I can get you certainteed. And here's why and what we can do. And let your clients drive those decisions. But your sales process has to be nimble and agile enough to be able to present that information to the client and help them kind of navigate that decision. And you mentioned Henry Ford. There's a great study that I love to quote that Stanford did years ago. And it was, of all things, about jam. I mean, I don't know why they picked jam to do it, but if anyone's not familiar with the study, go look it up. It's a really famous Stanford study. And they basically had these people go to a grocery store, and grocery store said, we're not selling any of this jam. We don't know why. And so they put this study together. They had 230, I'm misquoting the exact number there, different types of jam. And the reason they couldn't sell any of it is because people got analysis paralysis. They couldn't decide what the hell they wanted. So eventually they figured out, offer them 10 different things. So the reason I bring that up is because contractors and salespeople in general get really nervous. Well, I need to offer choice, but sometimes choice makes the actual process for the end buyer, the consumer, more stressful and not comfortable. When if you just present the information, here's your two options right now, in order to get this done quickly, the consumers are typically okay with that.
Yeah, there's two things that you said that I think were really powerful. One is choice, and the other one I want to talk about the forklift experience. That phenomenon has been studied to a huge degree. We talk about it in retail sales too. You don't sit down and say, well, what do you want to do? We can do this shingle with this ridge vent, and then we can do this, and then we can go this warranty or this extended warranty. You need packages. And although there's virtually infinite scenarios you can do, there's a reason people choose 3 packages. And they did this. There's another study. Have you ever heard of the book Predictably Irrational?
Yeah. I have not read it, but you're like the second or third person who's told me about this recently, actually.
It's phenomenal. It just shows we're all crazy. We all make these decisions, myself included, on things. And I'll give you this example because it ties exactly into what you had just shared. Is they were selling subscriptions to a print magazine. So option 1 was, and I'm going to change the numbers. I don't remember what they were, but print was $47 for the year. Digital was what was it? 97 for the year. Maybe no, it was reversed. I'm sorry. And then print and digital was 97. Well, they're like, but why would I go with print and digital at the same rate as just digital? Like, of course I would go the 2 route. So everyone went that route, even though the upsell was huge. And I reversed on the print and digital, but the idea is the pricing anchoring. So then they did this test where they pulled out just the digital at 97. So it was $19 versus $100. And then everybody chose the $19 offer. So the story is that we all will anchor our decisions against what's in front of us. And it's the same reason that restaurants do this. You'll see one really high priced menu, the steak and lobster, surf and turf, the filet mignon, that might be $28 at a decent restaurant or higher at a fancy place. And it's because that $20 burger, which if you walked into a burger joint, you're like, $20 for a burger, what the hell is this, New York City? Then no offense to anyone in New York City, just prices. But all of a sudden that $20 burger compared to a $45 filet or market price is more appealing. And the lesson behind this is people need to be channeled into decisions. Otherwise they become their own worst enemy. And I think, have you ever been before you knew that? Cause you sold retail as well. Like if you walked in, you're like, well, what can I do? We have 5 different shingle manufacturers with 20 colors a piece. And then let's talk underlayment. Then let's talk ice and water. Then let's talk ventilation. Then let's talk warranty. And then you're like, no, it's a 17-hour sales appointment with every question under the sun. So,
I used to take the siding samples and the gutter and trim samples. It drove me nuts. And we would literally unscrew them and take out virtually everything and leave it with the 5 choices that we wanted to give people. And then we also, if they couldn't come to a decision, it's not like we said, thanks, we're not going to serve you. We said, okay, we have other choices here, but we tried to make that process as simple as possible. We just removed them all. We didn't even show them as options because it freaked people out.
Faster decisions, happier customers. You touched on stress. So for everyone listening, call your supplier, find out what they have, be flexible. I know a lot of people have allegiance to one brand or another. And I might get a bunch of hate comments on this, but my personal opinion is you align. Every rep in every industry, in every market's different. You work with a company that's got your back, because all of them have issues that come up, and it's who's going to support you. That's been, should I do this or this? I was like, first of all, the growth of your company, the least important thing is what shingle you're installing, in my opinion. If you can't sell ice to an Eskimo, a hamburger to a starving person. If you can sell ice to an Eskimo, you're a good salesperson. If you can sell a hamburger to a starving person, you're just not going to grow. So great advice. Call the supplier, limit your options, and always have that in your back pocket. You do that one obscure home with a green roof and the log cabin look, you're going to need to bust out some creativity, because they're going to want it to look the same. But I do want to touch on what you said on the forklift experience. And that is, I forget who said this, you might know, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Right.
Who was that, by the way? Was that
I don't know, but it might be Carnegie. Yeah,
it might have been Carnegie. If it's not, I'm sure someone will post in a comment if you know who that was.
Yeah. Where's my Carnegie book, by the way? Which
I know.
I make everyone who starts working for me, both at 123 when I did that and at Elite, read Carnegie. How Do My Friends Influence People is like their first order of business, because it's the greatest sales book ever written.
Phenomenal.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. But on that note, right now, people are in crisis mode. We're going to touch on supplementing too here in a minute, guys and gals. When we are faced with these crises as salespeople too, it's not just the customer, it's your commissions that are tied up. It's customers, especially. There's a lot of people reaching out that are working like Charles, and they're saying, hey, they want GCs. I was responding to an email this morning. I'm having a hard time making sales because people want a GC to handle it all. And I always say, whether you're a GC who does it all or just a roofer, when you position it the right way, you can win business against the other. Two is a stronger value proposition. But we need to adapt and be agile. In 2020, which is a dumpster fire of a year, we're all looking forward, hopefully, until 3 months from now, maybe 2 months from now, whatever it is. I suck at math. People correct me on this channel. But we need to adapt, and we've adapted on inspections. I've had guys that are knocking doors and taping the letters to the door instead of sending them in the mail with painter stamps. They don't peel off. Then that worked. And I had another dude who messages me and he's like, hey, I ran all my appointments, but I just did a no contact thing. No tech. He just would sit out in front and call people, and he'd slip his contingency agreement into, they got bags that were branded with the company, put a pen, hung it on the door, package truck. Cool. You can go grab it now. And I'm like, that's adapting. That's agility. So just because we're facing a crisis doesn't mean you got to tuck your tail between your legs or quit. This is an opportunity for you to know that everybody else is doing it, and the top 20% are going to just explode through this and adapt and be just fine. So dig deep.
Yeah. One quick comment on that. I think you said something a minute ago that's really important if you're going to be able to adapt, which is this idea that there's an allegiance to a shingle or to a distributor. And I might get some people who don't like that I say this in my manufacturing and distributor friends. But listen, at the end of the day, your allegiance as a contractor is to your business and thereby your people, right? That's what matters. The shingle that you install and the place you buy it from is the last thing that matters in this type of a scenario. Because if you are hellbound on sticking to one, and that one can't service your needs and your clients' needs, and guess what? You're not going to have people working for your company, and you're not going to have a company that can survive. So you have to break yourself of those long-held beliefs and understand that crazy times call for crazy measures, and that might mean switching from A to B, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be forever, but you need to be willing to do it now, and you'll be fine. Like I said, and like you said, you adapt and you'll grow. This is not a time for everyone to put their head down.
Yep. And I know there's some people that are saying, hey, well, I sell X brands warranties and I need to match multiple accessories and have X number of products from that manufacturer. And what would you do? And I have some thoughts, but I'd love to hear yours on how you would navigate that, both from a brand loyalty. We know that you have to push a certain number of warranties to keep that status. So what do you do from a business standpoint and from a customer standpoint?
Yeah, I think it starts with what we said at the beginning, which is call your distributors and find out what do they have, because the
Mhm.
likelihood that you can't still sell those warranties with brand A or B is unlikely. You just might have to use a particular color when you do it and a
Mhm.
particular accessory when you do it, because the product is there. This is what I just learned from this guy when I talked to him. The product's there. It just might not be in the normal way that you order it. It might not be in, you might not get the, this particular type of synthetic or something. It's
Yeah.
you just have to be able to adapt. So it starts with learning what's on the ground. Don't be so rigid that you say, well, this is how I have to have it. There's other ways to get there. So that's where I'd start.
And this is, I always think of things in a sales and marketing standpoint. You can create your own warranties. If you can't, let's say you're waiting to install um, a roof and you're going to sell their top tier uh, warranty, but the ridge vent's delayed and it needs to be their brand of ridge vent. Well, now you got to get creative for the customer, and maybe you create your own warranty because you can't get that ridge vent, but you can get another company's ridge vent. I mean, maybe I'll get put on the chopping block to say that some roof's going to explode with a different ridge vent. I don't think it will. I think you'll be just fine. But
Yeah.
you can create your own company warranty to stand behind it. You're doing it for a year, hopefully. But yeah, awesome stuff, man. Let's talk, because we only have a few minutes left today. Let's talk supplementing. Do people
Yeah.
are our backs against a wall here, or is there an avenue to legally, ethically, and reliably get paid while these price increases just slash profits, which impacts many salespeople and their families? So what do we do?
Yep. Yep. So I'm going to go with our reoccurring theme here of, kind of seizing on the moment, because this is a huge opportunity for those who actually take advantage of it. The last price increase in Exact was October 20th. If you have any job in your pipeline right now that was sold on a scope pre October 20th, from, insurance paperwork was done pre October 20th, then you can reprice that job.
Awesome.
And to the tune of sometimes literally thousands of dollars, depending on the market you're in. Lake Charles right now, it's legit thousands of dollars repriced. And that is no supplement. You don't even have to add anything to the estimate, that may have been missed. It's just taking that estimate and saying, here's the pricing today. And we are doing a ton of that right now. Surprisingly, you still have to kind of fight those sometimes. And those of you who have watched Adam's channel before and heard me talk on it, I don't mean fight by yell and scream. That's not how you get things done. But I mean, kind of plead your case as to why it's necessary, because not every insurance company will just take it. But you can get it, and you can get it consistently. And it's a lot. So anything you have in your, I used to call it the drawer, your backlog right now on paperwork, even if you sold it yesterday, but if the scope was written pre-October 20th from the insurance company, you can get that repriced.
So awesome advice. There's people that are watching that are in two camps. I know this, that either don't know where to find it on the scope to know the date, or don't have Xactimate. They're a younger company. What are their options? Let's start with this. Where do you find the date, the Xactimate date on a scope?
Yeah, it's in the top. So, you've got your customer info, the adjuster who was there, and then it'll have some numbers and then say OCT 20, like,
Perfect.
October 20th or before, it'll be a different date before that. I can't remember when the previous one to that one was exactly, but that's where you'll see it. So typically under that adjuster's name, the estimator's name. If you are a new company, you're not using Exact, that's fine. Listen, I didn't use Exact for a long time and still supplement a lot. Yeah. The way you deal with that is you show the insurance company the material invoice date of purchase, not the pricing. It is not the insurance company's. They don't need to know what you paid for the shingles, so you black that out, and then you send them the invoice once that job is complete with the date you purchased the material. And if it's past October 20th, then you just say, I need this repriced, and they'll essentially reprice it. Or you can put it in your own Excel sheet if you use Excel or whatever you use, and just up that pricing. Material may have gone up 10, 20% in your market, 8% in some places. You tack that on to the original price that was put in and submit it.
Awesome. And for those of you, I know I get this a lot. People are concerned. Am I going to get blacklisted for supplementing? Or am I going to get a bad reputation? And you and I talked about this. By the way, I'm going to click this card. It'll be here or here. I don't know where we're going to put it. There'll be a card here for another playlist on supplementing. Mike was a huge part of that. He's in a few of them. Check it out for anyone who's new to this. But you don't need to be afraid when you're asking for what's right. And remember, this is ultimately about the homeowner. They've paid their premiums. This isn't a slimy tactic. It's not saying pay me more. It was an agreed upon, this is all contractual obligation between homeowner insurance company, you and insurance company, and you and the homeowner. So did I duplicate any? No, I don't. Did I? You, homeowner, insurance company. Anyway, everyone's got this agreement that's just, right, we're going to do it by the book. And this is by the book. I'm ordering material. There's COVID-19. There is a production output supply issue. Demand has gone up. So price went up. You need to pay for it. It's the same thing. Like otherwise that falls on your bottom line, your commission. Right. Even if you're a salesperson listening, you can still email and ask them to do it. I've done that even when I got busy and I was lazy, because I knew if I repriced it, they're not going to believe it because they're going to think that I manipulated line items. They're going to reprice it anyway and then send you the revised scope. So don't be shy. And also, Mike was too kind to not say this. You can also reach out to his company. I'll put a link to their website in the description. If you're on mobile, it's a little triangle. You'll see links to all the products, services, Mike's contact info, everything. And you're invited. I hope it was okay that I just put that out there to reach out to Mike. See if it's a good fit. He might be able to help you, especially if you're working hurricanes right now, if you're down in Lake Charles, or if you're dealing, I talked to someone in the Northeast, he's driving like 70 miles to pick up CDX for a redeck. And I think they were charging him like $50 a sheet or something crazy. Like they are just price gouging.
And that's a big, I know we've got to wrap, but real quick, because it's a really good point. And I looked at my notes as you were talking and I meant to say this. So zip code by zip code, huge differences, literally sometimes hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So we have a client right now who is working 3 hours from the biggest like major town. The crews are 3 hours away. And initially all the price lists were coming from the zip code next door because that's where the adjusters were all coming from. And once we figured it out, the zip code pricing for where the actual storm occurred is like 9% higher than, I don't remember the exact number, but something like, but 9% is a lot. I mean, it's a lot of difference. And then of course, if your crews are staying overnight in hotels, Lake Charles right now, other places around the country, if they're having to travel 3 hours, that's O&P is a very reasonable argument at that point. That's much more winnable than just, we drove 20 minutes to the from the shop to the house, which is still, in my opinion, is a reasonable argument too, but it's easier to win when those scenarios are happening. So that's a big deal.
And this is the beauty of just the expertise. I mean, you've got decades of experience in this. Your team does. Anyone new in supplementing, I learned it. I was slow. I talked to a sales guy the other day. He says, "Hey, I got this opportunity to become a sales manager for a new company," because he didn't like where he was. And, I'm going to be on there. I've never supplemented, so I got to learn it. And I was just like, man, you got to be careful with what they want you to be a sales manager and supplement all the jobs and grow a sales team and handle production. I was like, kiss your life goodbye.
Yeah, right.
I know the way I'm wired in sales, like you sit me down into Xactimate and I'm like, RFG 300S. Wait, no, they don't do S on that insurance.
Right.
Space, and going through it. And I'm like plucking like a chicken. You work with someone that knows what they're doing. And the nice thing, I'm going to shamelessly plug Mike here. You'd be silly to at least not talk to someone like Mike, hopefully Mike, because you only pay on results. And it's often like when we were in it, we hired a company. You were contracting when I was contracting. It is a pay for success model and often cheaper than doing it in-house, and time is money. And for me, I would much rather pay for performance from someone who's better than me and faster than me and frees up my time to go sell. So, you've got lots of options, whoever's listening. There's programs out there to learn it, or you just hand it off and grow. Whatever. There's different fits for different people. So, Mike, how can folks get a hold of you?
M Braun, Braun at eliteclaimsolutions.com, or info@eliteclaimsolutions.com is also an easy one. Or just go to our website and fill out the contact form. Elite Claim, not with an S. Everybody thinks it's Elite Claims Solution. eliteclaimsolutions.com.
Awesome. And I'll put links to all that. Hey, thanks for joining us today, Mike. I super appreciate you being so willing. And by the way, the last thing, I should have said this in the beginning, Mike and I paused the interview for him to talk to the supplier. And we were trying so hard to put it on speaker. And obviously we wanted to do things above board. I'm not going to sit here and record a call illegally.
Yeah.
If I was in Texas, though, it would have been legal. Which is funny. It's a single party state. That's all.
Yeah.
But I'm not in Texas. So anyway, we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And the gentleman wasn't willing, totally respect it, but we got the info from Mike. So Mike, thank you again. And appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Adam. Appreciate it, man.
Awesome. And anybody click that video description. You'll get links to everything in there. We'll see you on the next one.